The self-proclaimed tough guys of comedy are starting to sound fragile. The same group of comics who built their reputations on saying the unsayable, mocking snowflakes, and telling audiences to lighten up are now visibly irritated whenever they become the punchline. It's the irony of the decade. The anti-sensitivity brigade is, well, getting pretty sensitive. The latest flare-up came from Brendan Schaub, who decided to weigh in on Ronda Rousey's appearance on Burrcast. During the episode, Rousey took aim at Joe Rogan, saying he wasn't an expert, just a fan with an audience. That comment didn't just sting Rogan loyalists, it set off a full cultural chain reaction in the comedy MMA podcast world, the online equivalent of a family fight at a barbecue. Schaub, a longtime Rogan ally and veteran of defending his friends with the zeal of a hype man, apparently took issue with both Rousey's comments and Bert Kreischer's response, or lack thereof. His argument, to summarize the tone, Bert should have pushed back. You don't just sit there while someone disrespects the godfather of your comedy ecosystem. It's that unspoken Rogan sphere law. Everyone can talk tough, but don't talk tough about Joe.
So, yeah, it's not great, man. I mean, probably the thing that is the forefront of the MMA news right now is Ronda Rousey, who doesn't do a lot of PR, decided to come out and go on Bert Kreischer's podcast. Before you play this, Jen. Mm-hmm. One of the issues here, I'll probably defend a lot of Ronda, right? I'll defend some of her points, and then also I do have some questions. One of the issues here is, and we're seeing this more and more common in our sport, and Bert's a close friend. I absolutely adore Bert. Ronda going on Bert's podcast would be like me going on a Baseball Insiders podcast. You know, it'd be like me. Like, I love the Dodgers. I don't miss a game. So glad they won. I'm sad it's over. I felt bad for Toronto. Anyway, I like baseball. I don't know the ins and outs of baseball. I'm a fan. I watch all of it. I love my Dodgers. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, like actual inside baseball, game plan, what the manager's doing, you know, pitching, the bullpen, the other leagues, all the ins and out, the details of the game, dude, I'm a 2-stripe white belt. Bert is a 2-stripe white belt in fighting. So Ronda comes on there, and some of the stuff she said, if she just went on even just a normal MMA podcast, there would have been some pushback for some things she said. But Bert, he doesn't really know some of the references, like when she was like Khabib this, and there's no other champions, you know, who are beloved. And it's like, whoa. Just anyone has just a general overview of the sport can rebuttal a little bit there, but it doesn't do Ronda, doesn't do Bert any justice when one's an expert, one's just a general fan.
Schaub's indignation over Rousey's words is a little funny given his constant insistence that words don't matter. He often says comedians should be free to offend, but as soon as someone offends the Rogan pantheon, suddenly decorum matters again. It's not quite hypocrisy, but it's close enough to have a laugh track. Next up in the ring, Andrew Santino. The Whiskey Ginger host and Bad Friends co-star found himself in the spotlight after performing at the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia. The internet lit up with backlash, accusations of moral compromise, selling out, and brushing aside human rights issues for a paycheck. Santino fired back on his own platforms, calling critics hypocrites who pick and choose when to care about oppression. He went on to say that people contradict themselves constantly, and that comedians who criticized him were playing a performative game. He's not entirely wrong, but what's interesting is how often he's had to repeat that point. The more he insists he doesn't care about the backlash, the more airtime it gets.
Oh, how was the comedy festival you guys went to? Was it good?
In Riyadh?
Yeah.
Wild, dude. It was crazy. Well, the backlash on the internet was even more insane. It was insane.
That stuff seemed ridiculous to me, though.
Well, dude,
did you feel like it was?
Everyone is a walking contradiction, and there's a million miles of hypocrisy in people's arguments. And the fact that the community was attacking each other was very strange to me. But you know, like overall, my feeling about it was, Jimmy Carr said something that I thought was kind of a powerful statement. He said, I don't always tend to look at where a country has been, because they're all flawed, but I'd like to see where they're going. And he says, I'd like to think that where they're going is an attempt at progress and future and growth. And people may disagree with it, but when we went over there looking at the faces of 27, 28-year-old kids, that my own American ignorance, I was like, well, they're going to be riding on camels and they're all wearing cover-ups. They were dressed, like street kids for the most part. It's 27-year-old, 28-year-old kids who were wearing jeans and T-shirts, and they just wanted to see us, and we met the fans afterwards, and it was kind of a beautiful moment, and I haven't dug into the whole thing. Well, I haven't paid a lot of attention to it because there was a lot of noise and hate. And
I haven't delved into it.
Well, it's fine. People can feel how they feel about it. That's fine. That the world will keep spinning. But there's a lot of hypocrisy out there. There's a lot of hypocrisy, and a lot of people contradict. We're all walking contradictions, right? So when you start throwing stones, just make sure, that your plate's clean. Because I just feel like something that you've said 6 months ago, you may disagree with today. And I think at the core root of it, we forget sometimes that we're just comedians. And you and I, when we do shows like this, is like, we want to have fun and make each other laugh and joke around and bring humor to this whole space. And when the community begins to attack each other, I just think it's a detriment to comedy as a whole.
The irony practically writes itself. When you spend hours arguing that you're unaffected, you've already proven you are. If apathy were real, it wouldn't need this many monologues. And then there's Bill Burr, the elder statesman of the tough guy comedy aesthetic. Burr also performed at the Riyadh Festival, and ever since, he's been on what feels like a press tour dedicated to how little he cares about the criticism. 4, maybe 5 times now, he's addressed the issue on his podcast and in interviews, railing against sanctimonious people, phony outrage, and more recently, bots, inflating the negativity. He's like a boxer still swinging after the bell. Technically admirable, but you start wondering who he's fighting at this point.
Like this fucking, I'm telling you, dude, the fucking internet is evil. It is turning everybody against each other. You're even seeing it in stand-up comedy now. Comedians go after other comedians on podcasts. They literally say the person's name. They trash them. I do interviews now. People try to get me to trash like other fucking comment. And I'm like, I don't do that. I don't want to fucking do that. I already feel bad enough. Like earlier this year, I did an interview and somebody goes, what do you think about comedians having presidential candidates? And I knew who they were talking about. It's like, I don't want to fucking, I just wish I could go back in time and be like, hey man, I don't want to fucking, I'm not doing this. Okay? Everybody has a podcast. They do their podcast how they want to do their podcast. I fucking sit there by myself in my underwears talking to myself like a fucking lunatic. All right? So, guys, we're all Americans. Whether you like it or not, we are. We're all Americans. Let's fucking chill out. Let's fucking chill out. Let's stop having these cunts wind us up. All these nerds that own these fucking social media networks, they're literally bullying the entire population now. They're flicking the back of your ear. Every time you go on a fucking social media platform, you're letting a nerd, bunch of goddamn nerds, fucking flick the back of your ear and ruin your morning, ruin your cup of coffee with some phony shit that a bot just sent you. And then you and somebody else, okay, take the bait and you start yelling at somebody else that you would vibe with in the parking lot outside of the Forum going to a Foo Fighters concert. You'd fucking have a couple of drinks. Now you're on the internet and you're fucking ruining each other's morning.
When Burr first responded, it was classic Bill, angry, funny, and dismissive. But each time he revisits it, the tone shifts from amused irritation to defensive defiance. The guy who once told audiences to stop whining about jokes now sounds like he's the one nursing bruised feelings. He insists he's above the outrage cycle, yet week after week, he's still talking about it. Even fans have noticed. His comment sections are filled with variations of, dude, let it go. Burr's losing some of his core audience, not because he performed in Saudi Arabia, but because he can't stop relitigating it. What links these three moments isn't the content of the controversies, but the tone of the responses. Schaub, Santino, and Burr all come from a comedy culture built on bravado, the Rogan sphere ethos of, we tell the truth, everyone else gets offended. But now, when the criticism comes back their way, they're the ones doing the offended routine. They call it clarification, context, or defending their freedom of speech, but it's really just a more sophisticated version of, why can't you take a joke? It's not that these guys have suddenly gone soft. It's that the culture around them has shifted, and they can't quite admit that they care. Every podcast host now doubles as their own PR department, and every controversy demands a statement, a clarification, and 3 follow-up episodes. The Don't Give a Damn brand doesn't survive contact with the weekly upload schedule. Even apathy requires a content strategy.